Welcome to Consumer Behavior. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Looks like the snow has created a situation where I'm posting this lecture via video so that we can sort of have class in a virtual setting. I elected a pre-recorded lecture versus a Zoom meeting. Gives us a little bit more flexibility during the day. You're able to watch this whenever you can. I would like to mention that this virtual presentation here, it's not a part of the attendance grade. So January 16th will not be a day that's included when it comes to the calculation of your attendance grade. But you are responsible for watching this lecture. You are responsible for the material and completing the work in week one. And with that in mind, let me go ahead and show you what we got going on in week one. Let's see if I go right there. It is. Actually, this is not, it is consumer behavior. Good. Let me see if I can enlarge that a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, so here in week one, we will, you've got your to-do list there. You've got your personal introduction, self-explanatory. And then you got your discussion here, week one discussion. Now, this week's discussion, it looks like you're going to review this video, the value of things, and then there's a question here. What are your thoughts on diminishing marginal utility, and why would we want to consider this when it comes to researching consumer behavior? All right, so that's the, what did I do? Oh, I think I actually hit it. There we go. All right, so with the instructions on the discussion, I want everybody to understand that the initial discussion posts are due on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. And you should be, and let me rewind here. All right, start over. The initial discussion post is due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. And that posting should be at least 2 paragraphs, and each of those paragraphs should be 5 sentences at least each. All right? And then on top of that, you need to reply twice, all right, to 2 of your peers, and those replies are due by Sunday. I believe Sunday will be January the 21st. All right. And each of your responses to the initial discussion post of your peers should be 5 to 6 sentences at least each. All right. At least 5 to 6 sentences each. All right. So it's a 10 points. If you fail to respond to 2 students, you'll get a credit of 5 points. If you don't post your initial post by Thursday at 11:59 p.m., then that 3 points will be deducted from the 10. All right. So secondly, when it comes, another requirement is that with your initial post, you will need to have at least one scholarly, credible, and or news reporting reference to support your post. Your reference, it can be from the internet, it can be, from a book, from a periodical, from anything like that, but it cannot be from Wikipedia or sites like that. The reference should be scholarly. It should be a credible resource, maybe news reporting type source. And I need for you to cite your source used in your posting using the APA format. Okay? So if you have any questions about that, please send me an email and I will answer that question for you. I want you to get full credit for the discussion, so please follow all of the instructions associated with posting the discussion. All right. We've got the case 101. All right. In the required length of your response to this case per question is at least one paragraph, 5 to 8 sentences. All right. So in page 44 and 45 in your textbook is the cases all right, so in your textbook, page 44 and 45, there's case 1-1, IDEO, consumer-focused innovation. All right, you'll read. All you do is read that article and answer questions 2 and 5. Okay, if you have any questions about that, please send me an email. You're not required to respond to a peer on this discussion. All right, so just answer the questions, one paragraph, 5 to 8 sentences at least. And, you know, explaining your answer, it says explain your answer. That may take more than a paragraph. If it takes more, that is fine. That's fine. All right. So going back to... And then I think, yes, we got the quiz, Chapter 1 quiz. So there's 5 questions there on the Chapter 1 quiz. So take that quiz. It is open book. So just take it. And then that's your work for this week 1. Again, any questions you may have, please send me an email. All right. Let's get into the content. Consumer behavior. All right, so we're looking at Chapter 1 in your textbook. And Chapter 1 is what is CB, and CB is not citizen band, but CB is consumer behavior, and why should I care? I mean, why should we even really care about consumer behaviors? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Our objectives for this chapter is to understand the meaning of consumption and consumer behavior, to describe how competitive marketing environments lead to better outcomes for consumers, and then we're going to explain the role of consumer behavior in today's business and society. Be familiar with basic approaches to study consumer behavior, and then lastly, appreciate how dynamic the field of consumer behavior continues to be, particularly as CB is shaped by technological advances, including big data analytics, the Internet of Things, and the sharing economy. All right, so those are our objectives. So in what am I trying to say here? Our introduction today, I want us to consider these 2 terms. When we talk about consumer behavior, what are we talking about? Well, let's take these 2 words and let's look at their individual meaning, and then let's talk about their meaning together. So a consumer, that's just somebody who purchases goods or services for personal use. So consumers are the people that are buying things. Behavior, that's the way in which one acts or conducts oneself, especially towards others. So when you put consumer behavior together, you're taking a person who buys things and looking at how they conduct themselves when they are buying things. And not just when they're buying things, but also why are they buying the things that they are buying. So it's the what, when, why, and how of buying things, whether it be products or services. For people to become consumers, we gotta have money. All right. So jobs provide resources for consumers to enhance their lives by acquiring, and the key word there is value. Value providing goods and services. So when somebody buys a smartwatch, a chain reaction takes place. Not only does the owner receive value, but value is created for others as the store is going to have to restock its inventory. The manufacturer produces more products because the store has to restock its inventory. So it's a chain reaction that keeps on going. And as I mentioned, the key word is value. And when we talk about value, what are we referring to? You know, oftentimes people feel that value equals price tag. If it's got a high price tag, if it costs a lot, then that must mean that it's valuable. Well, I disagree with that statement. I don't believe that that's entirely true. Price tag, in my opinion, does not equal value. Why is that? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Value is the regard that someone is held to deserve, the importance, the worth, the usefulness of something. And then a second definition is a person's principles or standards of behavior. It's one's judgment of what is important in life. All right? If you have a product or a service, if you are able to introduce that product or service to the consumer and convince them that it is valuable, then in all actuality, the price tag, it doesn't matter. And I tell you why. Let me show you something. Let's do a little search here for fun. All right, let me look here. And if you've been in my operations management class, you may have heard this illustration before. So let me go ahead. I'm going to bring up a little Google.com. All right, there we go, Google.com. And let's look up a Yamaha keyboard. All right, a Yamaha keyboard. So let's look here. Just initially, now this is a PSR. All right, that's a typically a lower quality instrument, but it's look the price tag there, $489.99. We've got the P71 there. That's got some weighted keys for $499. The Yamaha, there's a PSR right there for $1,600. Let's go down here, Yamaha products. I don't know that price tags are on the actual Yamaha site. No, there's not any price tags on here. I'm looking for one specifically. So give me, and I tell you what, I'll just do it like this. What is my keyboard? I can't even think of what my keyboard's called. Yamaha Motif. That's what it's called. All right, so here we go. We've got a Motif FX there, 1500. The Mod X is 2300. There it is. MX8 88 synthesizer is 40. So we see that the workstation keyboards, the actual keyboards that are used in recording circumstances, studio work, and live performances are ranging anywhere from $1,200 to $4,500. All right, so that's the Yamaha keyboard. So now let's do a little search and let's look at the Casio keyboard, which is another brand. Okay, looky right there. Initially, the Casio keyboard is $139. There's a Casio keyboard. There's one for $189, $499. 139. There's one actually for 69. That's a little one. So we can agree that the pricing on the Casio keyboard is drastically lower than the pricing on the Yamaha keyboard. Now, I'm a keyboard player. There's a keyboard right here. All right. I don't know if it was play. Let me see if I can get it to play in here. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So I've got a keyboard. And by the way, that's a Yamaha keyboard sitting there. So I'm a keyboard player. And I've got a Yamaha keyboard right there, right over here on this wall. You can't see it, but there's a Yamaha SY99, and then right over there is a Yamaha EX5. Those are older keyboards. I've got a Motif, an MX88 at the church. I've got a couple of Yamaha guitars over there. So, I'm brand loyal to Yamaha, and the reason that I'm brand loyal to Yamaha is because I am convinced as a consumer that Yamaha is a valuable instrument. So, when I go to the store and I'm going to purchase a keyboard, I may go into a music store and sitting on this side will be a Yamaha keyboard that's going to be priced at, let's just say, $2,000. And then I may have a Casio keyboard sitting right right beside it. Now, the price tag on the Casio keyboard is going to be considerably less. It's going to be $499. All right. So if all I'm thinking about is the price tag, then I'm obviously going to go with the Casio because it's cheaper, and they're both keyboards. The difference is as a consumer, I'm willing to pay more for the Yamaha keyboard because I'm convinced it's of value. It is worth it to me to pay more for a Yamaha instrument than it is for me to pay for a Casio. And just for the record, you're not going to get a Casio instrument in this studio. All right, I'm sorry. I don't like Casio instruments, so you're not going to see one because they don't have value to me. They don't hold any value. So that is really, guys, that is kind of an illustration of value. And the Yamaha keyboard, that's something that I see its worth. It's a usefulness. It's important to me. It's my judgment that's important to me. And value is always a greater consideration when it comes to considering consumer behavior. Now, consumption and consumer behavior. Consumption, there are two unique perspectives to consider on the subject of consumer behavior. And those two perspectives are, first off, give me just a second here. First off is the actual human thoughts, feelings, and actions involved in consumption experiences. All right, so what does the customer think? How do they feel? How do they act when they are when they're involved? Like, for example, when I'm playing my keyboard, or when I'm singing, or am I having a good time? What are my thoughts and what are my feelings? That's something to consider. And then secondly is I want us to look at consumer behavior as a field of study, a human inquiry, if you will, that is developing an accumulated body of knowledge about human consumption experiences. All right, so these are the two unique perspectives that we want to consider. And when it comes to consumer behavior by definition is the set of value-seeking activities that take place as people go about addressing and attempting to address real needs. So, for example, back to the keyboards. If I'm going to buy a new keyboard, I mean, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to begin to acquire the information I need to make the purchase? So, is it something that I need, or is it something that I want? And those are some definitely some consumer behavior drivers, to say the least. So when a consumer is motivated by a need, there's a process that kicks in as the consumer sets out to find desirable ways to fill that need. All right, now need, it may be something that is a definite need for life. For example, to live, I'm going to need food, I'm going to need water, I'm going to need nutrients. So when I go to the grocery store, I'm motivated by, the need to live my life. I've got to live. So if I'm going to live, I need to take in nourishment. But sometimes, like for example, I have some studio lights here in the studio. What if one of these lights goes out? I'm going to need to replace it. So what's going to motivate me? What thoughts am I going to have? What feelings am I going to have? And how am I going to begin to replace that light? That process kicks in, and it's just the basic consumption process. All right, the basic consumption process, and it begins at the top with need and moves to want. And then after we establish the need or want there, we move to the exchange stage, and we're doing kind of like what I did with the Google search, right? I kind of looked at both, did some research on both instruments, looked at the cost and the benefits, and then I'm going to have a reaction to the information, and then I'm going to make a decision on what is valuable to me, because when I determine what is valuable to me, that is when I'm going to be willing to spend the money that I earn from my job to buy it. Okay? So this is just the basic consumption process. Now, when you look at want, when we look at the want in this consumption process, remember that what I want, that is a specific desire that spells out a way to go about addressing a recognized need. Okay? And when it comes to want, a consumer feels a need to stay in touch, to belong, to socialize, to feel good about him or herself. I know I do. And this need manifests itself in the want for better, like a smartwatch, for better media access devices, or for me, and musical instruments, to want to buy the right keyboard to get the highest quality sound. All right. Now, a lot of these processes in this basic consumption process we are going to go over in later chapters, but very quickly, like the wants, those are the specific desire to spell out. We talked about that. The exchange is acting out on the decision to give something up or in return for something perceived to be of greater value. The cost are the negative results of consumption experience. That's what I'm going to have to pay out. All right, if I'm going to turn over moolah, what am I getting in return? And then that's the benefits, positive results of consumption experiences. So negative results, well, that's what I'm going to have to lose. That's what I'm going to have to pay. The benefits, that's the positive result. What am I going to gain after having paid the money? So that's consumer behavior as a human behavior. And then we move to consumer behavior as a field of study. Now, the study of, when we talk about this is the study of consumers as they go through the consumption process. It's kind of the science of studying how consumers seek value to address real needs. So we take a look at the what, when, why, and how, you know, when it comes to a particular smartwatch. I think in the personal introduction exercise in week 1, I think one of the questions are you an Apple user or an Android user on your smartphone? And so there is some debate. Is the iPhone better, or is are the Android devices better? We could have a discussion about that maybe. But why is it that for example, I'm an iPhone user. Everybody everybody in my family, we use iPhones. Why is that? Why do I seek value in the iPhone to meet my mobile communication needs? So that's the field of study that we're talking about here. And when it comes to consumer as a field of study, we consider the consumption. And the consumption is the process, right? It's another way to look at the basic consumer behavior process and considering the steps that occur when consumption takes place. It's the process by which consumers use, they transform goods and services or ideas into value. Consumption is a value producing process, and it is this process that marketers and consumers interact to produce value. All right? So thinking about the result of all these interactions considered together, one can really see that consumption outcomes affect consumer well-being by affecting quality of life. Now, the economics of the situation, when we look at economics and consumer behavior, this is a study of production and consumption. So the economics, and that involves the moolah, right? That involves the fact that as a business owner, I need for my revenues to exceed my expenses to be profitable, and that profitability is intertwined with the economics of how much needs to be produced versus how much is going to be consumed. That's supply and demand. So just remember that consumption is a value producing process, and it's in which the marketer and the consumer interact to produce this value. All right, very good. Now, here are some terms, guys, that I want you to be familiar with as I'm looking through the chapter here when it comes to the economics and consumer behavior. Remember, like psychology, that's the study of human reactions to their environment. Social psychology focuses on the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors. Then you have the cognitive psychology, which deals with the intricacies of mental reactions involved in important processing. The neuroscience, that's the study of the central nervous system that includes your brain mechanics associated with emotion. And then marketing. Marketing consists of the multitude of value-producing seller activities that facilitate exchanges between buyers and sellers. We're including production, pricing, promotion, distribution, and retailing. All right, so the ways in which consumers are treated, does it really make a difference? When it comes to consumer behavior, do we as business owners, as working for an organization, a company, is the way that we treat customers, does that really make a difference? Some organizations, they can survive while treating customers badly. And then there's others who really need to pamper customers just to have a chance of surviving. Thinking about the Motor Vehicle Office, the Department of Motor Vehicles. In Arkansas, the Revenue Office. All right. It is the Revenue Office, the DMV. Can they survive while treating customers badly? Folks, I have to be honest with you, they can. All right, they can, because it doesn't matter. If I'm going to drive my vehicle, I'm going to have that vehicle licensed. And there is no other place in Arkansas for me to get a license plate for my car except at the Revenue Office. So regardless to how I am treated, on an annual basis, I'm going to be paying for that license for my vehicle. Now, how about the retail outlet down at the mall? What about, a representative in one of the stores there? Maybe like, let's just say I'm looking at the list here, like a bank lobby. What about the bank lobby? What about the people who work and deal with customers in a banking institution? Can they survive by treating customers badly? I don't think they can. And the reason is because they have options, right? They have options. Consumers, if they aren't treated good at one particular banking institution, they can just go around the corner and find another one. And so there is a great competition out there. So the competition is something that needs to be considered. Consider these two questions when trying to understand why this is so. Number one is, how competitive is the marketing environment? The greater competition, the more pampering and customer service and how you treat customers is important. Another question is, how dependent is the marketer on repeat business? All right. Restaurants, places to eat, they rely on repeat business. People don't go to restaurants and just go one time and don't come back unless they didn't like it. If they didn't have a positive customer experience, then they probably won't go back there and eat. But the restaurant depends on repeat business. So because there is a dependence on that repeat business, I can guarantee you that customer service is going to be, or should be, at the higher level circumstance. Now, consumer behavior and other disciplines, we're talking about things, where do consumers go if they don't like the service at the revenue office? They don't have any other options. They're just going to have to, maybe you can complain about the service, but truth of the matter is, as I mentioned, when it comes time to renew your license, that's where you're going to go. That's where you're going to go. But in consumer behavior, let me look here. I'm trying to... Oh, here I go. Sorry, I jumped ahead in my book too much. So, consumer behavior and the other is like sociology. Sociology, you maybe have taken a course in college, a sociological course, sociology. And this is the study of groups of people within a society with relevance for consumer behavior because of a great deal of consumption that takes place within group settings or is affected by group behavior. And then we have the anthropology, and this is the field of study involving the interpretation of relationships between consumers and the things that they purchase, the products they own, and the activities in which they participate. So when we talk about consumer behavior, we talk about the other disciplines, but then I want us to move to competitive and consumer orientation. All right, competition, being competitive, and consumer orientation. The 3 points that we're going to look at in this section are the few competitive pressures, the many competitive pressures, and then firm orientations and consumers. So as we look at this together, we need to understand that competitive pressures motivate marketers to provide good service. All right, competitive pressures motivate marketers to provide good service. So in the middle here, you see service, right? This is the service that an organization provides. And then you have the effects of that service. You have trust, maybe warranty, the satisfaction, support, quality, and customer. These are the different areas of service that that an organization provides. If you have strong customer service, then your customer is going to trust you. They need to trust in the warranty. If the warranty is going to be there for 1 to 2 years for manufacturer defects, the customer, the service there, the organization replaces, fixes that device or that product in a timely manner. So customer service affects not just customer service, but service and how we treat the customer. There is a competitive pressure, and it motivates marketers to provide that good service so that trust is built, customers are satisfied, they feel supported, they feel that they are getting quality service. They are seeing the value. All right, they're seeing the value. Now, firm orientations and consumers. Consumers orientation, this is the way of doing business in which the actions and the decision making of the institution prioritize consumer value and satisfaction above all others. All right. And then you have the market orientation, which is the organizational culture that embodies the importance of creating value for customers among all employees. And then lastly is the stakeholder marketing. And this is an orientation in which firms recognize that more than just the buyer and the seller are involved in the marketing process. And a host of primary and secondary entities affect and are affected by the value creation process. All right, very good. Now, in your textbook, I'm now on page 11, page 11 of chapter 1. And when it comes to relationships, all right, relationship marketing and consumer behavior. Relationship marketing, these are the activities that are based on the belief that the firm's performance is enhanced through this repeat business. All right. So that is building a relationship with somebody, and building that relationship, building that connection ensures that there is going to be repeat business. And if you're a company, if you are an organization that relies on repeat business, then you're really going to need to consider the relationship that you have with the community and with the individual customer. Touch points, these are the direct contacts between the firm and a customer. Now let's take, for example, I used to work, as you guys know, I used to work with Verizon Wireless. What would be considered the touch points for the customer when it comes to Verizon Wireless? These touch points, one might be the Verizon.com, the internet. When a customer logs on to their account via Verizon.com, that's a touch point. Another touch point would be the My Verizon app on their mobile devices. Where's my mobile device at? Here it is. So right here on my mobile device, there's my Verizon touch points right there. I click on that app and it gets me into my account. That's a touch point for me as a consumer with Verizon Wireless. Another touch point would be the actual Verizon stores. If I choose to go to the Verizon store, then that is another touch point. It's an interaction. It's a direct contact. So there are a lot of touch points. And when it comes to relationship marketing and consumer behavior, you have to take into consideration the different touch points for the consumer and your business. All right? So that gets us through page 11 in chapter 1. So Thursday, we will pick up there and begin to look at consumer behavior, role in business, society, and consumers. We will, and I have a little thing I want to do Thursday as well, a little activity that we're going to do as well. But there you go. I'm going to go ahead and conclude our time today, but we will meet again January the 18th in class. All right, so we will see you then. Again, if you have any questions, cares, or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out to me via email. All right, send me an email, and you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. All right, see you later.